Hello and welcome to the Typical Boro podcast. As always, I'm your host, Steve Dixon. On my screen, I have the usual rabble of Mr. Graham Bandy and Mr. John Cutler. You all right, boys?
Morning,
good.
chaps.
Very good.
Before we get into Sheffield United, could I please ask you all to keep subscribing to our YouTube channel? Very important for us to get subscriptions. Could you please leave comments? It just helps the podcast get put out there. So we're going to get into Sheffield United because we are top of the league. We are top of the league. 4 wins out of 4, 12 points in the bag. Middlesbrough won 1-0 courtesy of Tommy Conway's 64th minute winner. I will start with you, Cuts. You should be a very proud Middlesbrough fan last night when the final whistle went. Did you enjoy that?
Absolutely. I put a little tweet out after the game yesterday saying I can't remember the last time it felt like this. Fans, players, club, unison. It's probably the Karanga days, to be honest. The scenes at the end of the game were, for me, it's what you live for as a fan. I absolutely loved yesterday. Don't want to get too carried away, but fantastic.
I totally agree. If you can't get carried away now, when can you? Graham, you carried away last night?
Yes, I am carried away, but I'm also conscious that we can't get too carried away. But yeah, like I said last week, and now that we've got to enjoy these moments because I think it's the best start we've had for 31 years.
That's right.
There you go. That's a start and a half for you. So brilliant start. And yeah, I just love the camaraderie, the rapport with players and fans and manager at the end. And we want to see that every single week. And at the moment, we don't look like we're going to lose many games. So let's just keep going. Momentum is a massive thing in football. Even if you're not playing particularly well and you're still getting results, it's a brilliant thing to have.
I think it's the first time people can check for me because I've tried to find the stat of when we were last actually top of the league. And the closest I could find was 2018 under Tony Pulis in October of that season was the last time we were top. If anybody can find one better than that, please come and find it for us. But that's the best I could find. So it's been
Dicko,
a while since we were top of the league.
If you look at the top 3 teams, we've got Boro, West Brom and Stoke, and he's managed them all.
Yeah.
So there's a little ironic twist for you, but I'm sure he's smiling tonight.
Before I get into the what happened during the game, just the points you both made regarding the atmosphere. That's going to be huge for us now. The manager Rob Edwards has got to take a lot of credit for that, building this camaraderie and morale, and coming to the supporters during pre-season and during the Swansea game and stuff. And I noticed yesterday after the game, a lot of supporters normally leave early at the Riverside due to the traffic situation and what have you. But I think fans are now even looking forward, if we win, to seeing Rob Edwards and the players do that sort of lap of honour in the fist pumps and the chants going and stuff. So a lot of fans, I thought, were staying more than usual at the end of the game yesterday, which was good to see. And also, the Riverside yesterday, right from kick-off, right till the final whistle, the fans were that actual 12th man, I thought, yesterday, and backed the team, both stands, both in the north, and especially, obviously, the south stand. And I know you wanted to make a point, Graham, that you've seen a difference in switching ends, in attacking the south stand second game. You think that's been a productive move?
I do. I think it's a valid point because we've obviously tried to turn it around this season and kick towards the south stand second half. And the stats back it up. 2 home games, 2 1-0 wins, 2 goals at the south stand. And you can't ask for more than that. Brilliant. So again, that hopefully keep that little run going. It's just these little quirks that I quite like, and I'm sure the players are aware of it. I'm sure the manager's certainly aware of it. And I think that's something that they've investigated pre-season and tried to do something slightly different. It could be a superstitious thing as well, but who knows? It's working, so long may that continue. And back to Edwards, it was nice to see him come up to the north stand as well at the end of the game yesterday and give it the old 3 fist pumps, because that is just so important to have that sort of galvanisation between fans and management and players. And we're looking, when they go to the south stand, there's a different player now being sort of pushed forward, towards the crowd to try and engage. So we're establishing new rapports with different players, new heroes, hopefully.
Cuts, do you agree the Riverside could be a difficult place for people to come this season, especially if the fans can keep turning up in your 26,500 yesterday, good numbers, and having that sort of noise in the stadium? Going to be a difficult place for teams to come this season?
Yeah, if you're going to be successful, you need a solid home record, foundations, and I think you make a good point about the thing after the game, and the fist bumps, different players, whatever. Southgate used to do it when he was captain of this club, and he was a great skipper, and I think it brings the players and fans together. It's something I encourage, and I hope they continue to do. Long may it continue getting 3 points as well.
Absolutely, absolutely. So we'll get into the game. There was one change. Obviously, Finnaz has departed, which we might speak about a bit later on. And
To the Premier League.
To the Premier to the Premier League club, that's Southampton, which are below Middlesbrough, yeah. And Hansen come in for his first start in a Middlesbrough shirt. What was your thoughts on the starting lineup cuts in the first half performance?
Yeah, I always say if the results are right and the players are performing, or some of them aren't probably doing what they think they're capable of, but the work rate's certainly there, and we're winning games, so I'm all for keeping the same team. Hansen coming in for Finn, I was fine with that as well. The performance, you can't fault it. Outstanding.
Yeah, I thought it was really workmanlike first half. I seen Graham before the game, and we're talking about, we needed a fast start. We needed to get at them, make them know that they're in the game, be unsettled because they're lacking confidence. And I thought if Middlesbrough can really get at them and harry them and press them and not let them get into the stride, because they've got some quality players, Sheffield United, and I've got no doubt, despite them being bottom of the league at the moment, they'll still be in the mix come the end of the season. There's no doubt about it with the quality they've got and the players they've just brought to the football club. But for Middlesbrough to get a 12-point gap on them now could be crucial come the end of the season as well. So that was another take from yesterday's 3 points. Graham, first half performance, it was everything we had discussed in the concourse, wasn't it?
Pretty much. I knew it would be that sort of game. I did call 1-0, if I'm honest.
You did. Spot on the podcast and in the concourse.
I sort of had an idea of how the game would go because they're a dogged side. They do have quality players. You're right, you point that out. They will fine-tune themselves and they'll be pushing up the league in no time, I'm sure. So I think we beat a very good team yesterday, but we're better at the moment because we're functioning as a unit. They aren't. Everything that the manager's asking them to do, they're fulfilling to the maximum capabilities. We just look an organised, solid, professional outfit. There's connections now throughout the team. We see the midfield too. We see the back three. We see that there's a dynamic now happening on the right-hand side with Ayling and Britton. Almost Ayling was just spoon-feeding in most of that first half to get forward. And we nearly got some joy in the first half with a couple of cross shots and a couple of great crosses from Britton that Tommy just didn't quite gamble on sufficiently. But it boded well for that second half because we had a platform and then we could kick on. And it was good to see Edwards made substitutions at half time, which is something new for us. We normally waited for that dreaded 70-minute mark when we're chasing a game. But for once, we're in the ascendancy. We can make our own decisions, and he's been proactive as opposed to being reactive, and it's working really, really well. I thought his subs again changed the game and gave us something different and better in the second half.
Yeah, forward-thinking management, which is something we've discussed on here quite a bit. Cuts. It was, good to see again. Rob Edwards. The subs he made at half time. Hansen came off. Apparently, he's struggling a little bit with his fitness to get up to the required levels of the Championship in terms of, them sprints that you have to make under Rob Edwards. But the plan was for him to play 45 to 55 minutes, then come off, which is what he did at half time. Severin Apan, come on, had an impact, no doubt, which we'll talk about, Graham. And Sammy Silvera, who I thought had a really good first half, nearly scored a very good goal, and he clipped the post in front of the North Stand. He came off for Matt Targett, who again, come on, made an impact and had an excellent performance from the bench. But before we get into the second half, just the talking point of the first half, obviously, was Saidi Peck challenge on Sammy Silvera. How's the referee missed that one, Cuts?
It's modern football. In modern football, it's a red card. For me, it probably should be a yellow. But like I say, in modern football, it's definitely a red.
Wow, I'm surprised at that, Cuts. I thought it was a straight red. I've seen the replays. I thought it was a straight red. I thought it was actually worse than the challenge at Norwich, to be honest.
I agree with you. In today's football, it is a straight red. But the football that I've been brought up and watching, it would have been a yellow and a ticking off. So, yeah.
Ankle breaker, straight red for me. That's a shocker. The lad at Norwich, the young boy, Wright, who got sent off. He got sent off for less, I think. I mean, that was a nasty one, but that was worse yesterday, in my opinion.
Yeah, I thought there was I mean, you could see by the Boro bench the way it exploded when the challenge happened that there was something really bad happened. You can't obviously see first time from the stands, but when they showed it on Sky at half time and stuff, it was a really poor challenge by the lad.
Yeah. I think that was a game plan from Sellers to try and get wired into us quite quickly and stop our flow. However, we moved the ball so quickly and played at a high tempo that they couldn't get near us. We were bypassing their midfield, particularly Hackney and Morris, who, again, were just instrumental.
So the subs that came on at half time, as I said, Bandy, you wanted to talk about Nipan. Thought he had he's your favourite boy at the moment. He's going to be the next.
Well, he was my favourite boy before he'd even kicked the ball for us, because I saw that footage of him and I don't think I got carried away, to be honest. I think we saw glimpses of what he can do yesterday. Just a shame he wasn't on for the full 90 to see even more of him. But when you come on for 45 minutes and you make that level of impact, you've got something about you. His work out of possession was just impeccable. He'll drop in, he'll play as a centre midfielder. He's an interceptor, he's a blocker. He finds space so well. He's one step ahead of his opponent, and when he gets the ball, he's already made his pass before he's received it. He was brilliant. I just want to see more of him, and I think he can play anywhere between as a screener, as a central defensive midfielder, or as a 10, or even as a winger. Really, he's just got an abundance of ability. So the more we see of him, the more we're going to get excited. But I saw enough yesterday to suggest he is going to be absolutely quality.
He was getting back, which was good to see for me late on in the game, and when he needed tackles in, getting back, stepping in, nicking the ball off players. Obviously had a hand on the goal when he gave the ball to Matt Targett, who played a World Cup 1970 pass. Didn't he, in behind the defence to Tommy Conway?
Beautifully weighted past that. First time as well. So again, he'd seen the run from Tommy. So something they've worked on, and it's coming to fruition. So brilliant. I thought he was excellent, Target. He settled in really well.
I felt it was on all game, to be honest. The both left and right.
Yeah.
Both Britain and Target, second half, the balls were on for them to get forward and get in behind them. The balls were getting knocked in, second half to Conway, and a little bit later, when we changed it up, I'm trying to think, Sen come on, didn't he? Yeah, Callie Sen come on for his debut. He was getting in behind as well with balls in behind, which was really good. Promising debut from Callie Sen, actually. I thought he'd come on, showed that he had a bit about him, not just in terms of pacing behind, which looked really promising, but I liked the way he dropped in and held the ball up, was giving little layoffs into the midfield, spinning and getting back out.
Yeah,
I think he looked a quality addition for peanuts. 1.5 million. Looks a decent addition to me. I think a lot of Championship defenders will be having nightmares with Callie Sen over the next 6 months. Hopefully, looked a good player to me.
He does look a willing runner, and I think he'll pull defenders around a bit, which hopefully might make a few gaps for Conway to pop into.
So that was a great goal by Conway. He come off, as I say. Sen came on. I thought, Sen and Bergzog both had impacts in the game. Bergzog a little less so. He's a willing runner, Bergzog. I thought he had an impact when he come on. He caused them problems. However, cuts three huge opportunities for Bergzog to kill the game, and he failed to take, all three. Two he should have laid off. One to Callie Sen for a tap in. One he should have given a little layoff back to, who was the midfielder running onto it?
I think it was Nipan.
No, it was American.
Morris.
Yes, Aidan Morris.
Yes, Morris made a great run right side of his shoulder. Yeah.
A little give and go there. Morris should have given it back, failed to do so. Then the last chance he had himself and tried to go himself and ended up putting it wide. Got to do better cuts if he's going to have an impact in this Middlesbrough side, Bergzog.
Yeah, I think he tried one twist and turn too many instead of getting his shot off or laying the ball off. I think he's not a young kid. Whether that's ever going to change, I don't know. But personally, I don't want to get on his back too much because I think he's okay. Whoever's a player that comes off on the bench, I thought at times he took the ball into the corner and was keeping all the possession when we were trying to run the clock down a little bit. So there's positives and negatives with Delano, but yeah, we're winning. It didn't cost us in the end, so let's move on.
Just mentioning Morgan Whitaker as a point of contention. We mentioned him on the podcast last week. Is he doing enough for a starting 11 place, Bandy?
Yeah. I mean, we're only 4 games into the season. He's contributed in 2, I would say. He got the corner against Swansea and he linked up well at Millwall for that goal. So, yeah, he's contributing, but I want more from him. I think there is more from him. He was certainly more involved yesterday. It's probably the most involved I've seen him in the game. But he was just trying, he's a bit frustrated, I think. He snatched at a shot and it was a weak shot at the north stand when he could have maybe just kept the ball and maybe lifted his head up and tried to look for a player to play him in. However, he's still probing, he's still finding good spaces. He did carry the ball well yesterday, some long distances, which did get us up the pitch. So yes, I do think he's just about warranting a start. However, there's some serious quality knocking on the door now for a start. So he's got to shape up quite quickly for me.
Yeah, it's just his end product, I think, Cuts, isn't it? He works hard and, he's cutting in, he's taking players on when he can. He put a couple of good crosses in yesterday, but just when he gets in front of goal where you expect him to unleash the shots like he did for Plymouth, he's just pulling at things, hurrying at things, putting things over the bar. He needs his end product to improve, especially with Nipan and Sanjay Hansen breathing down his neck.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we're all saying on that we think we need a little bit more from him. I think he will say that himself. Now, one plus point I thought from yesterday was when he got substituted, there was no sarcastic cheers from the fans, no overzealous cheering that he'd gone off. It was support. He was clapping the fans. Fans were clapping him for his efforts. I think it'll come. I think he's desperate for a goal, and I don't think it'll be too long in coming. And I think we'll see a different Morgan Whitaker once that happens. I've said for weeks and weeks, there's a player in there. I can say there's a player in there. But he's not shaking his responsibilities. He's working hard enough. So if it's not working for your goals and assists, as long as you're putting in a shift and contributing towards the team, which I still think he's doing, I wouldn't change him out of the team, to be honest.
He's similar in approach to Azaz. I know Azaz used to get quite a lot of stick for not getting stuck in, but that's not that type of player. And Whitaker's exactly the same. He's good on the ball, but off the ball, he's maybe not so good. And I keep saying he probably needs to go on the weights a little bit just to bulk himself up a bit and just make himself a bit more of a physical prowess. But when he's on the ball, he's doing good things.
It's a good point you make actually about comparisons and obviously with Azaz. But all I would say is I think where Azaz could back himself up with statistics for goals and assists, that's the end product that Whitaker's lacking. But I think he'll get a bit more time under Rob Edwards because at the end of the day, he's still been part of the side that's won 4 out of 4. So he's played his part. And one final positive from Saturday was the return of Darragh Lenihan. I know he's only come on for 5 minutes, but he's a leader, a big player, and I think he'll play his part this season. Cuts, you're a big fan of Lenihan, aren't you?
Huge fan. Rob Edwards said after the game yesterday that he's a leader, but he's not just a leader by example. He's a shouter. He's an organiser on the pitch. I think he's an excellent centre half now. Whether he comes back the player he was, he's had a very serious injury. It's a big test for him. But if he comes back anywhere near what he was, he'll be pushing them centre halves. I know we're not conceding goals at the moment, but to have him fully fit for the rest of the season, fingers crossed, touch wood, I think it's a massive, massive boost for the squad and our ambitions for this season. I'm a big fan of Lenihan.
Yeah. So we'll move on from Saturday, as good as it was, into a bit of transfer news. We'll go through a bit of transfer news. A lot of rumours about Middlesbrough after Hull City goalkeeper Ivo Pandur. He's £5 million rated apparently for the Croatian. This morning it come out that Middlesbrough might be open to a cash plus Seny Dieng deal. However, Scott Wilson from the Northern Echo, who's normally bang on, apparently says no, that's not true. Middlesbrough aren't in for him. They haven't got a long-standing interest in him. And also Middlesbrough are keen to give Sol Brynn the number 1 jersey to claim as his own. And whether that Glover stays on and Seny Dieng moves on or vice versa, that's the route they're going to go down. I'm okay with that. I think Sol Brynn has been terrific. I think he's been, a breath of fresh air, commanding. Yesterday, he didn't have any saves to make. However, he's coming for crosses when he needs to. He's catching the ball under pressure when he needs to. I'm happy Middlesbrough sticking with Sol Brynn. I would be concerned if anything happened to Sol Brynn, I have to be honest. But I think that's the right route to go down for now. Especially, I'm sure Sol Brynn can keep himself fit till January. Do you agree, Bandy?
100%. He's our number 1. make no bones about it. He's a top keeper. He's just got that physical prowess. He's marshalling his back line. He's very good friends with Fry, so you've automatically got that telepathy. It's working well. You know, he's barely let the goal in. And what pleases me, when he's coming for crosses, he knows when he needs to punch. He knows when he needs to try and catch. And he's not been caught out yet. He's been superb. Absolutely class.
I agree. Cuts?
Yeah, he hasn't had much to do, but everything he's done pretty well. And again, yesterday went down with a little fake injury to just give the lads a breather on the pitch. So yeah, I'm
Not
all
wrong
for
with
that.
a lad.
No, he's a young kid, so for him, I say he's a young kid, but you know what I mean, relatively experience-wise. But for him to go down, give the lads a little bit of breather, I think it's something that we missed last season. Game management, all for it.
If you notice when he goes down, the players go straight over to Edwards, and he's giving out the instructions that refueling with water, so they'll be ready to go again.
Absolutely.
Just buys us a bit of time and just takes the sting out of the game in moments where we're under pressure.
Other transfer news, Marcus Force. Looks like he's heading to Bolton on a season loan. He'll be out of contract at the end of the season. I think we mentioned on the podcast, we thought Marcus Force might be surplus to requirements after not really starting in the main games pre-season. Marcus Force hasn't quite done it in the Middlesbrough shirt. He's got undoubted talent, and I'm sure he'd be a really good signing for Bolton Wanderers. But I think it's probably time now to part company with Marcus Force. Do you think, Cuts?
Yeah, you can never fault him. Every time he's been on the pitch, he's always gave 100%. I like him, but whether he matches the quality that we are aspiring to, I just wish him all the best. He's never caused a bit of problem, so good luck to Marcus if that move does come off. And a great signing for Bolton in that division as well, I would imagine.
Yeah. Bandy, you happy to see Marcus Force go, or do you rather he stayed?
No, I'm relatively content to move him on now. I think we've ramped things up a notch, and we're on to bigger and better things, and I don't think he falls into that equation. I could never quite work him out as a player. People used to say he's a striker. I've never seen anything in him to suggest that he's a striker. And when he was out on the right, he didn't quite do enough for me. He just flitted in and out of games, and you've got to stamp your authority. And when you do get an opportunity, you've got to take your chance. Probably that's where we're at with Whitaker at the moment. Is he capable? Yes. Is he doing it at the moment? Just about. Can he sustain that? We don't know. So we don't want to be talking about Whitaker in the same bracket as Force, maybe 20 games down the line. So Whitaker's got a massive opportunity now to stake a claim, and I don't think Force ever really staked a claim, really. So yeah, I think it's the right move to move him on. Good luck to him, though. Good lad.
You just mentioned there, Graham, going on to bigger and better things, and that was the story that broke after Middlesbrough's game yesterday. The bigger and better things could be David Strelic. Now, if you don't know about David Strelic, he's had 203 career appearances, 69 goals. He's got 30 caps for Slovakia, 7 goals. This season, 9 games, 5 goals, 1 assist. So he's not going to come cheaply. If he does come, I'd imagine it'll be around the 10 million euros mark if we do happen to get David Strelic over the line. So that will be a sign of intent from the club and Steve Gibson if we've got someone like that in Cuts when we're top of the league.
Absolutely. We've had a long-standing interest in him. It's a player that we've scouted long and hard by the looks of it. We've been linked to him over the last couple of windows that have been open. So I haven't seen much of him, to be honest, but I trust the process, and it's certainly a position where I think we needed to strengthen. It was interesting after the game yesterday that when he asked Edwards about transfers, he said there's a couple of bits going on, so maybe there's something else other than Strelic as well. So yeah, all for it. Good luck to him. Let's hope we get it over the line.
Exciting signing, Bandy, for get him done.
100%. Them numbers stack up for me, definitely. So he might give us a different dimension. We've been crying out for what you'd call a traditional number 9. He seems to look like he could fit the bill. So it'd be interesting to see how we play him if he does come, whether Conway lines up alongside, whether he drops behind and goes for flick-ons and things. So an interesting dynamic to come, hopefully.
Want to keep an eye on before the window closes is Neto Borges. Neto Borges wasn't in the squad yesterday. No injury. He was left out for selection. Lenihan obviously come in as well. Do you think Neto Borges will be wanting to move on, or do you think it would be a shame? Because last season, at the end of last season, Neto Borges was one of the people we could actually hang our hat on as a leader. He ended the season quite strongly. He's been a little bit out of favour since Rob Edwards has come in due to formation, the options we've got on that left-hand side. Would you like to keep Neto cuts, or do you think Middlesbrough could maybe cash in and get some money back in?
Again, I think he's a player that I wouldn't necessarily actively look to move on, unlike a few players in the squad that are still there, that I'm sure will move on tomorrow. But I trust the manager. So if the manager thinks he's surplus to requirements and we can get a few quid back, free up a little bit of wages to maybe bring in somebody else, we'll see what happens. I was surprised to see him not in the 16 yesterday, but we'll see.
And I'll leave the big one for you, Bandy, and you can take the blame for this if you get it wrong. Hayden Hackney. Come 7 p.m. on Monday night when the deadline is over, is Hayden Hackney still going to be a Middlesbrough player, Graham?
Oh, Dicko. I don't know anything, mate. I know nothing. It's just, the longer it goes on, the more worried I am, because the club have obviously come out and said he's going nowhere. However, everybody has a price. And if a Premier League club come in at the last minute, which I expect them to do, whether it be Palace, Wolves, Everton, not necessarily Premier League, Porto were interested in him. You just don't know who's going to come in. His performance yesterday doesn't help matters for us personally if the scouts there, because they'll be going back to their clubs with a 10 out of 10 report. Because again, he was so instrumental and he was class in the centre of that park. So I can't answer the question because we don't know anything that goes on behind the scenes. If you were to put me on the spot,
which I am,
okay, I would say, I did mention a couple of weeks back that the signing of Naipan and Sonche Hansen might be a little bit of a cover-up for the loss of, obviously, Azaz and Hackney. We're still not concrete with Hackney. Nobody knows apart from the hierarchy. So, yes, I think he might move on.
Oh, dear me. Cuts coming in there.
One thing I will say, 4 wins out of 4 in the league. His performances have been absolutely outstanding. If he does leave, it's going to be far more than the 20 million that we accepted from Ipswich. I think the players that we're bringing in and the ambition that we're showing at the moment, I'd be very surprised if we let Hayden leave for anything less than 30 million now. And it's changed massively that in a few weeks since we accepted that bid from Ipswich.
I think that's what we're probably holding out for. And I do think there's a reason Naipan has come in. A player of that calibre from Manchester City isn't coming to flit around as a 10 or to sit on the bench. He's come for a reason. And that reason would probably, for me, to be able to slot alongside Morris, because he's certainly capable. But I don't know. I really don't know. It's just so up in the air at the moment. I hate the transfer window. It's a nonsense. If he doesn't go this window, I think we'll be having the same conversation every single week until January, when it might happen then. And we saw what happened when we lost Lath in January. So if he's going to go now. If not, then he'll be around till January, but I think he'll definitely go then. I just hope the club can promise him a summer move, because there's a whiff of inevitability about it all if we don't succeed this season. However, if we do manage to keep him here and we get promoted, he's going to be playing in the Premier League team for his hometown club. So what's better than that? It's just whether or not we can entice him to stay a little longer. But at the moment, he looks the finished article, and he's definitely a Premier League player in, at the moment, a Championship team.
Well, I think Hayden Hackney, if I'm going to give my opinion, I think he'll still be a Middlesbrough player unless a ridiculous bid comes in like 35, 40 million, because I think things have changed, like Cut said, from 4 or 5 weeks ago when Ipswich was sniffing about. Middlesbrough won 4 out of 4. We're top of the Championship. We've moved on Finnaz. We've moved on Rav Vandenberg financially, which makes Middlesbrough's net spend basically zero. I think there's a conversation to be had with Hackney to say, listen, if we're not challenging for the automatic promotion spots come January, we can move you on then. If we are challenging for the promotion spots come January, we would like you to have this season with us, Hayden, and we'll promise you a move to the Premier League in the summer. So could you give us potentially one more year? And I think Hayden Hackney's, he's been really good. You know, he's committed on the pitch. Yesterday, Sol Bryn, his only mistake, he done a poor pass out to Hayden Hackney, edge of the box. Hackney panicked, you know, poor layoff. But if you watched him, he got back in the box.
He recovered
Superbly, made a brilliant save and tackle. You know, commitment by Hackney. And I think if his head was being turned and he was moving on, I don't think that happens. My opinion is Hackney's in his brain. He's staying at Middlesbrough. He's had conversations with the club, and unless a ridiculous bid comes in of 30-40 million pounds, I think Hackney knows he's a Middlesbrough player till January. That's just my take on it, and I hope I'm right, but that's just the sense I get. You know, you can't say he's not going, because if Man United come in and say there's 40 million, obviously Hayden Hackney will probably be away. But if clubs are going to come in around the 20 million mark, like Ipswich done, I think Middlesbrough have moved on from that now because of selling Finnaz. And I think Hayden Hackney will be a Middlesbrough player. Fingers crossed, come 7 o'clock tomorrow.
Let's hope so.
That's what I think. So after the international break, I'm just going to put these fixtures to you, because Middlesbrough have had a hard start, as we all know. To be top of the league after the games we've played is absolutely sensational stuff. After the international break cuts, we are away to Preston, home to West Brom, away to Southampton, home to Stoke, away to Portsmouth, and then home to Ipswich, which would take us up to the 10-game mark. Now, if you're ever going to judge how Middlesbrough are going to do this season, by that 10-game mark, and those teams we'll have played over them 10 games, if we're still in the mix, I think we're in for a good season. Do you agree, John?
Absolutely. I say it every week, though, every game in the Championship's tough. It's about how you apply yourselves. And under Edwards, you can't question that. So I think it's a game that games that the players will embrace if they want to achieve the ambitions that looks like the club are trying to set out. So embrace it, look forward to it. Tough battles ahead. Let's see how we do.
Bandy, do you agree that's going to be a good yardstick? If Middlesbrough can stay around the top 3 or 4 teams after playing Preston away, West Brom, Southampton, Stoke, Portsmouth and Ipswich, we're going to be there to stay?
We've played, and you've mentioned teams there that are definitely 100% going to be in the mix at the end of the season. So if we can come out of that run unscathed and not lose too many, then yes, why not? We've got to believe. We look like we're not going to concede many goals, and if we can stay injury-free, then I'm more confident of us picking up points in that run of games. So yes, I think we can maintain the run and stay within the pack. Well, at the moment, we're leading the pack, which is just bizarre. I mean, it's just how we can handle that pressure now. The longer that run goes, if we're sat top of the league after 10 games, then you've got to start rubbing your hands thinking this could be the year, you know. But again, we've got to stay lucky with injuries. That's vital. If we lose key players, I'm not 100% on the surplus to requirements coming in and, you know, staking a claim.
I mean, let's be honest here. If we keep going at the rate we're going, we're on course for 138 points this season.
He thought I was getting carried away last week with bloody Janino and Kaka. Like it, John.
We'll move on to fans' questions, because with Middlesbrough winning, I put a message out asking fans to send some messages in for you two to answer. So we'll start with some questions from the fans. Steve Trodden is sent a message in about with so many international breaks during the season, can they not just be played during the summer instead of the World Cup and other glorified friendlies?
It's a fair point. I can't stand international breaks. We never seem to recover well from them, and we always end up with a key player getting injured. So no, I don't like international breaks at all. Total nonsense. Barring obviously World Cup tournaments and Euros, the rest is tripe.
Yeah, here's one cut regarding international breaks, and obviously Middlesbrough going into one now after 4 straight wins. Do you think this has come at a good time for Middlesbrough? Do you think it's a bad time? Would you rather Middlesbrough continue with this momentum and we're playing Preston next week, or do you think it's nice to sit back and say we're top of the league, we can enjoy it, we can hopefully get say Strelec in, we can get Darrell Lenihan back fit, Bangura back fit, and then crack on with the next 6 fixtures I just mentioned before?
No, I think it would have been perfect if we continued. 4 wins in a row, hopefully a couple more signings coming through the door. Everything's rosy in the garden. I think it's come at a bad time for us, but let's hope we can have the international break and come back firing the same way that we have at the start of the season.
Yeah. John Grayson has come in with, what's your thoughts on the levels of refereeing in this league and what do you think could be done to change it? Two similar challenges in 2 games. Norwich player obviously had a player sent off. Yesterday, a player wasn't sent off. In his opinion, it was worse. I think as fans, all we want is consistency. I'll come to you, Graham.
In the main, the standard is pretty poor, in my opinion, in this league. You can see the differences in the Premier League. Obviously, the VAR does help alleviate shocking decisions, but yeah, there's no consistency in this league. It changes minute to minute, week to week. Horrendous, really. We saw it, for me, a straight red yesterday, which was completely overlooked. I know he's booked, but he should have walked. So I think it's garbage, to be honest.
Cuts, Bandy mentioned, VAR there. He's asking, John Grayson's asking what can be done to change things in the level of refereeing in the Championship. Would you like to see VAR brought into the Championship, Cuts?
No.
Yeah, I agree, John.
Well, I'll put this to you. I find it strange that in the Championship you play 46 games to try and get promotion to the Premier League. Yet, as our opponents yesterday, Sheffield United, found out, if you get to the playoff final, it's refereed with VAR. So, for me, you've got to play 46 games in the Championship, if it's that important, with VAR, or you've got to play 46 games plus the playoffs without VAR. You can't have VAR in the final of the playoff final, which, if VAR wasn't involved at all, like it hasn't been all season for Sheffield United, they've been in the Premier League now, not Sunderland, because of that decision that changed the game on the goal. So, to me, it's got to be a yes or a no. You can't have it one way and not the other.
Agreed.
It's arguably the most lucrative game in the world, really, that final, the playoff final. And VAR obviously need to try and intervene and just to make a few quid out of it, to make it a little bit more Americanized and dramatical. It's nonsense. VAR shouldn't apply in that game. If, like you say, it doesn't apply for 46 games throughout the season. There's not, again, talking about consistency, I mean, that's consistently inconsistent, isn't it? Shocking.
You know what? Although I hate VAR and I hate watching games with VAR in the Premier League, and it annoys us intensely the time it takes to get the decisions right, and it takes away that sort of spontaneous explosion of celebration when a goal goes in because fans are still wondering if it's going to be given or not. I think, funny enough, VAR in the Championship would help Middlesbrough, because I think VAR helps teams that are around the top of the league, whether that's the Premier League or the Championship, because they're on the front foot and they're asking the question all the time. If you're a good side in the Championship, for example, you're generally going to get more penalty decisions or more penalty appeals because you're on the front foot. You're going to have the better players taking people on. Like, say, yesterday, Sammy Silvera, and he gets clobbered. If VAR's involved, that player gets red carded. So it would help Middlesbrough in that situation. I think, although I'm not a fan of VAR for the reasons I give, I think actually in the Championship, VAR would massively help Middlesbrough in terms of we would get a hell of a lot more decisions going forward, because we're going to be one of those sides that's asking the question on the front foot. As VAR helps in the Premier League, your Man Cities, your Liverpools, your Chelseas, because they're asking the question every week of the referee, they're on the front foot. And that's just my take on it. You might disagree, but I think VAR would help Middlesbrough.
Fair enough. I just think good enterprising play will help Middlesbrough, and referees will probably be more favourable in terms of giving us decisions, because we're flooding the box with players and creating a lot of chances. I don't think the VAR needs to get involved in the Championship. Championship is a brilliant league. We love it for a multitude of reasons. VAR certainly would not be one of them. It's a nonsense. Did the ball cross the line? Yes. Get some cameras on the goal line. That's all you need.
Agreed.
You don't need contestable decisions going back to a bloke in a truck somewhere looking at a telly. It's just shocking, really. That's the game being broken down into little segments. There's no continuity, there's no flow to it. No, keep it out. That's one of the reasons I enjoy the Championship.
Stick it in the comments, Borough fans. Would VAR help Middlesbrough in the Championship? Or, like Bandy says and Cut says, keep it out the Championship? Put it in the comments. Next question is from RM, who says, my biggest worry at the minute is an injury to Hayden Hackney or Aidan Morris. Kante and Lowe McCabe aren't quite at their level yet, and I'm discounting Dan Barlasser. Do you think we should have another experienced head as backup for the midfield section? Cuts, come to you.
I'm not a fan of Barlasser, and he'd be one player that I'd be looking to offload tomorrow. But if we do that, I agree. I think we could do with another midfielder coming in. Like, say, Kante is relatively new to the league, still a young lad. But you can look at any top team in any division in the world, and if either of their top two centre midfielders get injured, they're not going to have someone of that quality and standard to come in and replace them. So I think it's not just us it would affect, it's any team in the Championship. Look at Sheffield United yesterday, Hamer, O'Hare, two top Championship players. Any team would miss the starting midfielders, but yeah, I agree. I would bring someone in.
Good point. Bandy, do you agree with cuts? Or would you like to see Middlesbrough bring somebody in?
It's all down to financials. I'd like to see us bring in anybody to if Hackney or Morris get injured, but it's not always possible. I think we're just about covered because I do believe Naipan can play as a central midfielder. I think that's his predominant position. So I don't see any problem slotting him back. We've still got an abundance of 10s or attacking wingers or inverted wingers, whatever you want to call them. So I think we'll be all right. I think we'll be just about covered. And I don't think we have the funds to go out and spend. You'd be looking at 20 million for a player to sit on the bench. It ain't going to happen. You've also got Kante. I know he was just out with a little niggle yesterday, I believe, but he'll be fine. He's just finding his feet. He's already had one starring performance, and he's just getting used to the league, getting used to the dynamics of it. I don't see a problem. I think we can just about plod on with what we've got. Whether it be if Hackney does move on, I think we can just shuffle the pack a little bit. The priority is buying a centre forward in that 9 position, or alongside Conway, or someone to compete with Conway. Going back to that situation, if we do get Strelec, does that leave Tommy surplus to requirements? Is he on the bench, or does he drop alongside? Does he go behind? It's a interesting conundrum because he can't be left out of the team for me.
I think it goes back to what we had when we had Latte Lat, and you would rotate Latte Lat and Conway depending on form. And whoever was coming on off the bench, you knew was going to bring, quality to the pitch, whether it was for the last 10 minutes, 20 minutes, half an hour. And I think that's a great thing to have in the Championship. You've got to have strength and depth up front. Kalliasen is another one. The three of them, if we can get those three to rotate over the course of the season, at that Championship sides, if they're holding on against Middlesbrough, and Middlesbrough look to the bench and they're bringing on Strelec or Kalliasen, I think that's going to give Middlesbrough, a huge amount of joy. It was the same when we got promoted under Karanka. We didn't just rely on one striker. We had Nugent, we had Stuani, we had Kike, you had Jordan Rhodes come in. You had more than one striker.
Yeah, that's a fair point. Yeah,
that's what gets you over the line, in my opinion. Regarding the midfielder, I would rather we didn't bring in a journeyman squad player just for backup. I would rather we see Lowe McCabe get his chance, see if he's good enough. If we happen to get a couple of injuries over the course of the season, that's the time for Kante, that's the time for McCabe to step up, that's the time Rob Edwards will know if they're good enough or not. So by bringing in a journeyman just to replace for a bit of experience, they're not going to get their chance. So I'd rather see McCabe and Kante get the chance.
I'd agree with that. From a selfish point of view, going back to Conway, I would love to see him play 35, 40 games this season because I'm 100% certain he would get double figures. He'd get that. He'd hit that 20 mark. I really believe that in terms of the service we're now trying to provide to him. He's become our little fox in the box, and that finish yesterday was exquisite. The whole goal was exquisite, but the timing of the run, the first touch, took it across the keeper and shuffled it across the other way into the other corner. It was just a beautiful goal. He can do that. Don't
forget though, Rob Edwards was saying on tees about the way he sets up and his sprints and his runs that he demands of his Middlesbrough players. He was more or less saying, likes of Middlesbrough striker Tommy Conway, he can't play 90 minutes that way because of the runs that he makes and the sprints that he runs. He's probably only going to make 60, 70-minute mark, so you're always going to have to change it at some point in the game anyway. And the demands he's putting on these Middlesbrough players for sprints is what he found out when he managed Luton in the Premier League, that the Premier League teams were sprinting 20% more during games than Championship teams, and he had to adapt his Luton players to do the same. And he's found that moving to Middlesbrough, he wants to bring that intensity in those sprints and those levels of fitness to his Middlesbrough side. And you're sort of seeing that. Even the Middlesbrough from Carrick to now, the possession stats, I was looking myself, yesterday against Sheffield United. Middlesbrough's possession was only 47%. To Sheffield United's 53%. Middlesbrough's possession against Norwich was 41% to Norwich's 59%. So Middlesbrough aren't always having enough of the ball. But when we do have the ball and when we don't have the ball, the work rate and the sprints that we're doing is unsettling these teams. So when we do have the ball, we're positive with it. So it's really clever. It's scientific now, football, isn't it? You don't. It depends which way you go down as a coach. Michael Carrick wanted to have the ball 70% of the game and keep the slow, methodical passing and build up, and then wear teams out by keeping the ball. But if you look at, like the Azaz example under Michael Carrick, Azaz was, guilty of thinking, well, is he going to put a bit of effort in? He's just strolling around the game. Under Rob Edwards, those days have gone. You can see on the pitch, whether you're Napan, whoever you're Hansen, whether you're Conway, you're going to graft, you're going to run those yards, and if you don't, you're off.
Aidan Morris mentioned something about the sprints as well. He said obviously the sprints have gone up, but it's no sweat to him because that's his game. He's happy to marshal that middle of the park and cover some yardage. But back to what you said, Dicko, about possession, it's easier for us now to accept possession to the opposition because we've got a back three, we've got two wing backs who can drop in, and we can invite teams and then we can hit them through great enterprising attacking play and playing through the midfield, which so far is working a treat.
Absolutely. And I thought you just mentioned him there, Aidan Morris. He was man of the match yesterday. He was like a machine yesterday for me. I thought he was the best player on the pitch.
I thought so as well. I thought he was brilliant. Again, probably for the fourth game running, to be honest. He's just running the team for us. He's the engine.
Getting on to John Hammett, funny enough, was just message saying, any ideas where I can buy the same sort of engine that Morris has in that midfield, please, chaps? I was shattered just watching him yesterday. And he also says, do we owe Steve Gibson an apology? If and when Strelec gets done, we can't say he hasn't backed the gaffer again. Losing Finnaz is a blow, but sounds like he wasn't happy here anyway. Well, I'll answer the first part for you, John, and you can come in with your opinions. No, we don't owe Steve Gibson an apology at all. As a fan, you just say what you see. So at the start of the season, when we're seeing, Rob Edwards coming late, we're seeing, he wasn't being backed, players weren't coming in. We're going into the first game of the season against Millwall, where just Canty had come in and Alfie Jones had come in, and that was it. And we had lost. Vandenberg was leaving out the door. Things were looking a bit bleak, and fans rightly questioned the owner, as in, where's the money from Latte Lat? Where's the money gone? Are we going to? We don't want to throw Rob Edwards under the bus. We want to give him full backing. Since then, obviously, Middlesbrough have made significantly more progress in the transfer window, brought players in, which is credit to the club and credit to Steve. So we're also entitled now to give praise where praise is due. In terms of spend, I don't think we've spent anything. What we've spent is the money that we've let go, and Finnaz going, and Vandenberg going, when net spend's basically zero. I'm fine with that. It's good business. As long as we're bringing money in, but spending money on quality the other way, that's absolutely fine. Strelec coming in would be a statement of, ambition, definitely by Steve. I'll be delighted to see that. But I think as fans, depending on the circumstances, we do have the right to question the club at certain times during the course of the season. But at the minute, everything's going well. His other point was losing Finnaz. Sounds like he wasn't happy anyway. So I'll bring Bandy in on Finnaz because you were a big fan of Finn. What sort of impact do you think losing Finnaz is going to have on the team, if any? And with Finnaz seemingly being unhappy at Middlesbrough, were you okay letting him leave?
If he's not happy, then yes, you've got to let him leave. You don't want a disgruntled player in the camp. Bad apples shouldn't be seen. We need to get rid, which is a shame because his numbers stack up, and he'll be at the high end of the division with his numbers this season, whether it be for Boro or Southampton. He'll still be up there. He's a quality player, a really, really good player. The kind of player I like to watch. Doesn't necessarily get stuck in. I'm not interested in getting stuck in. Leave that to somebody else. Leave that to Morris. Win the ball, give it to Azaz. He'll make something happen. There'll be times this season where we're 0-0 or we're chasing a game and there's 5 minutes left, and we desperately need somebody to get on the ball and do something and create a little bit of magic. We might get found wanting there because it is a long old season. As Edwards alluded to yesterday in his interview, he says there's another 42 games to go. When you actually think that, it is crazy the amount of games. So players like that, you do require at times. But good luck to him if he wasn't settled or whatever reason. I've enjoyed his time here. I certainly won't be slagging him off and calling him all the names under the sun just because he's left Boro. Players come and go. You just got to get on with it. I was a big fan of Carrick, still am. He might end up getting the Man United job. You just never know. Football's a crazy world. So good luck to him. And I hope he doesn't do too well, but I'm sure he'll do all right. He's a good player.
Cuts, your thoughts on Finnaz leaving the football club?
Like Graham said, I was a big fan of him while he was here. But I think disappointed with a few of the things that he's come out and said. We're equally as big as Southampton. All right, they've been in the Premier League more recently. I think it's a sideways move for him. I think he's been a little bit disrespectful to the fan base for the club that he's served for, 18 months. Graham wishes him good luck. I don't wish him any luck. We move on. Move on. He wanted to go. I agree with Graham. I don't want players at this football club who don't want to be here. I think
it wasn't the smartest comment he made. It was pretty naive. It was a dig at the club.
I'm sure when we play them in a couple of weeks, and then when he comes back to the Riverside, I think he'll get a reception that shows that the fans weren't happy with what he said. I think he's tainted his spell a little bit with what he said. Put it that way. He didn't need to say what he said.
Yeah, good, I agree. Good points, Cuts. Good points. We don't know. Yeah, he'll get dog's abuse, I'm sure, and rightly so. It's part of the pantomime, isn't it?
Badly advised, I think, is probably what happened there for him. Yeah. I would say so. Yeah, and we'll end on a positive from Dan and David Ralph, who was our shirt winner.
Yeah, well done, Ralphie lad.
Yeah, Ralphie's asking, is it too early to start getting carried away? And likewise, Dan Ward is saying, can we make it 5, given that we have lost our last 5 visits to Preston? Yes, our last 5 visits to Preston we have lost, and we've never achieved this before. Is it okay to start getting carried away? So, Cuts, can we get rid of the Preston hoodoo and go 5 wins out of 5 for the first time? And is it with history? Possibly.
I'm not saying we definitely will go to Preston and win, but can we go there and win? On what we've seen, on the basis of what we've seen this season, yes, we can go there and win. And if you can't get carried away at the moment, when are you ever going to get carried away? So we know it's a tough season. Like I've said, we're on for 138 points, not getting carried away at all.
Bandy? Do you
if
think we
we're
can go
still
to
on
Preston
this,
and get 3 points? I'm sure we're going to take about 5,000 down there to Preston, by the way.
Yeah, of course we can go to Preston and win. Yeah, the way we're playing and the way we're setting up and the endeavour we're putting in, 100%, yeah. They'll fear us. They'll look at our record and think, wow, these guys have won 4 in the spin, top of the league. They're there for a reason. It's up to them to break us down. And if we can sit in and then counter them with some pace, he might start Hansen again. He might give him another go just because he's got that pace to bridge that gap between midfield and Conway. Or it may be Strelak up front, who knows. But yeah, we certainly go there and win. I feel more confident now going there with what we've got than I did under Carrick. Even though I was a fan of the way we tried to play, we were getting picked off. That last time I was at Preston where we equalised and then we conceded with that. It was that joke goal, wasn't it? Van der Berg and Haaland banging into each other. I'm pretty confident now we won't see too many Laurel and Hardy sketches like that anymore with this setup, with this manager. We were just so wide open, and I will concede that while I was a fan of Carrick, he did leave us cruelly exposed at times with the system and the personnel. I still go on about the personnel. For me, we've upgraded seriously this season. We've brought in Callum Britton, who's arguably the best or one of the best right backs, wherever you want to put him in. He's certainly an upgrade on Dijksteel, who for me was found wanting most games and was turned so easily. Borges, we now see him out the team. Under Carrick, he was probably one of the mainstays of the team. Everyone was saying how great he was because he showed a great attitude. He did for a period, but during the start of that season, he was rinsed every single game. Teams were just exposing him and playing on him and doubling up on him. He didn't know what day it was. So he recovered well for that period where we needed players to dig in, and he played as a centre-back for a little bit. But he's been shelved now because we've brought in better players. We're now even playing a winger in his position. We've brought in Matt Targett now, who was absolutely brilliant yesterday. Still a bit rusty because he's not played a lot, but just did enough for me to know that he's going to be a quality addition. And we're talking start of the season regarding the balance. When we brought in Britain, we were saying, right, what do we need now? We need a left wing back. And he's gone out and he's brought in Targett. And his first major contribution is to assist for a winning goal. So he's superb. Alfie Jones, for me, is an upgrade on Ralph van der Berg. Alfie Jones actually knows how to defend, holds his position, wins his headers. His interceptions are superb. He's a leader. Van der Berg, for me, used to go missing far too often, was mentally and physically weak, and I don't see him kicking on and having the fantastic career that many seem to think he's going to have. So credit to Edwards for addressing that defence, because it was a shambles, and now it looks like it's the most... the tightest defence in the league. Well, it is at the moment. So, yeah, brilliant.
Final question. I've just seen there's one more that I missed out. Sorry, but I want to answer it. It's Simon, and you just mentioned mine there, Graham, and Alfie Jones. He said, which summer signing has surprised you the most? So I'll start with that, Simon, and I will say Alfie Jones, because he had mixed reviews from Hull City fans when he arrived at Middlesbrough. I didn't know a great deal about him. I was wondering, he wasn't coming for a lot of money, 27-year-old. I was expecting just a bog-standard Championship centre-back. However, he has impressed me the most out of all the signings, because I think he's showed actual quality on the ball. He showed leadership quality on the pitch in terms of organising. He's won nearly every header. He scored a goal. And I agree with Graham. I think he's an upgrade on Rob van den Berg, who's supposedly going to go on and be this 60, 70, 80 million pound centre-back somewhere in Europe. Alfie Jones has been an upgrade for me for Middlesbrough in the Championship. I think he's been absolutely superb. So for me, that's the summer signing that's impressed me the most, Simon, is Alfie Jones. And I'll ask you two guys the same question before we finish.
Did you say impressed or surprised me the most?
Surprised.
Surprised.
Yeah.
To be honest, I'm not surprised by any of them, because the players we brought in, I was impressed with who's bringing in. So what they're delivering is what I expect. My standards are high, and they've come in. He's obviously earmarked them and targeted these players to come in and do a job, and they're doing a job. So I'm not necessarily surprised. I'm pleasantly surprised at how good they've been, all of them. I think he's bought astutely, really well. And I've given Kieran Scott a fair bit of stick over the months, and we seem to have a different approach this season. It's all about not conceding, being solid, working for each other, digging in, not exposing ourselves to criminal levels. And so far, so good. It's gone really well. I was so pleased that we built from the back. Earmarked Sol as the number one, get him fit, get him going, shuffle Ayling across. There's always a place for Luke Ayling in my team. I think he's brilliant. Arguably the best performer alongside Morris for me in the first 4 games. I think he's been class, and you need that astuteness, you need that experience, and he's a good marshal in that back line.
Cuts, I've been surprised by how good Alfie Jones is. Bandy's not surprised, but impressed by all of them. Has anybody surprised you, Cuts, by what quality they've shown so far?
I'm surprised that someone from the Premier League didn't sign Callum Britton. Absolutely fantastic. He's been immense for me. Early days, if there's a better right back in this division, I haven't seen him in the last couple of years. He's been absolutely outstanding. He's hit the ground running. Yesterday, I thought he was absolutely superb.
I like the fact that we've brought in the right type of character. There's no sort of pretense about them. They're just unassuming, workman-like players who just want to knuckle down and put in a 7, 8, sometimes 9 out of 10 shift for us. Every game this season, every player has pretty much performed, barring Bergzog for me, because he's just a little bit indifferent. But the rest have stepped up another level, and that's why we're top of the league.
Right, boys, that's it for another week. Thanks for coming on. Hope you enjoyed it.
Certainly.
Always a pleasure.
Good lads.
Even better when we're winning.
Listen, we're going to have a week off for the international break, like the players, and we're going to come back on Sunday the 14th after we've played Preston. Hopefully 5 wins out of 5, and hopefully to discuss a couple of new signings. So that should be a good podcast to do. So 14th of September will be the next podcast. So that's it for another week, Boro fans. We are top of the league. Rob's gorgeous Reds. March on. Remember, don't see it, typical Boro. Watch it, listen to it, and we'll be back again on the 14th. Up the Boro.
Up the Boro.